You're listening to The Bible Guys, a podcast where a couple of friends talk about the Bible in fun and practical ways.
Hey everybody, welcome to Monday.
Wow, yeah, very exciting.
Yeah, Monday's a big day.
You know, I was listening to that roll in today, and I don't know if I feel fun or practical. Maybe it's going to be boring and impractical today.
Jeff,
how about that?
I am more fun and more practical. Let me re-say it.
Okay, say it again.
I'll be as fun and practical for the both of us today.
Oh, okay.
How about that?
You're going to up your fun
I'm
and
up
practical.
My fun. Yeah,
okay.
That's what I was trying to say.
Okay, great.
See,
well, this is episode 601, so it's about time. Yeah, it's about time to up your game.
That's
okay,
right. Good. Yeah.
Hey, guess what?
We're both wearing vests.
We are.
Yeah, if you're watching and you're not listening.
I bet we both wear vests the whole week.
Oh, that's so true. That's so true. Have you ever watched The Voice where they stay in the same outfits and people are like, that's multiple days. It's like, no, not really.
They shot it all in one day.
It's one shoot. Mm-hmm. So the funny thing is, we did talk about, should we bring in a change of clothes? And we're like, why even do that?
Yeah, because we're lazy.
Well, no, because we're not that important.
We're not that important. That's right.
That's why. Or both.
That's right. So today is a really big one.
Yes,
It's one of our favorite segments.
Huge.
One of our what is it called?
Mailbags.
That's right.
It is mailbags.
It is.
And this comes from Jake P.
Hi, Jake.
First, I would like to say how much I enjoy starting my mornings listening to you both. Thanks, Jake. That's really awesome.
Oh, that's nice.
Second, I have a question that I would like for both of you to answer. Here's the question. What's one hobby you've always wanted to try but haven't yet?
Oh, wow.
I like how you wrote yet.
Yet. We haven't yet.
Right? You're only 53.
I don't know. One that we have I haven't tried yet. Yeah, only 53. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Hobby.
We haven't even thought about this.
Are you
question.
a hobby guy?
I don't think so. Like is playing pool a hobby?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Well,
that's your thing.
then I would say my son and I probably play. Well, I just joined the league, but before the league, I would say we probably played pool 3 times a month, twice a month.
Okay.
For the last 20 years.
Okay.
Together.
So that's kind of your thing.
Yeah, that's one of the things.
Okay. So you are a little bit of a hobby guy. You like board games and table games.
Oh yeah, I love that. Love that. Those are sort of hobbies, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
but something that you've never done yet, but you want to.
Yeah. Yet. So here's what I would say, and I would say, for me, it'd be working with wood of some kind.
Oh, really?
Yeah, woodworking. So
you like working with wood?
I like construction in general.
Yeah. Wow.
And I've always thought that I would be good at it. But and so I piddle paddle around, and when something needs to be done, I'll watch a YouTube video and I'll attempt it, and sometimes I have to call in somebody to fix my mistakes.
I always have to call somebody.
Or I would say the majority of the time, and I'm talking like 85% of the time, I usually do it myself.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I bet you, I'd like to pick up more of that, honestly.
I think I'd like to start taking naps in the middle of the day.
There you go.
I'm at that age now.
I have a hobby. My hobby is rest.
90-minute nap in the middle of the day. Right. I'm getting old.
Can that be qualified as a hobby, Jeff?
Yeah, no. So I think one thing I've always wanted to do, and I just haven't done it, and the older I get now, the more I'm not sure I'm the kind of person to do it because I'm not very detailed.
Yeah.
Is sailing.
Oh, wow.
I love the idea of sailing, and every time I've ever been on a sailboat, I loved it. Loved every minute of it.
Huh.
But
now, do they have you work?
Yeah. They're like, hey, pull this, fix that, tie this.
Crank that.
No, not like that most of the time, right?
Yeah.
And you can kill us.
Right.
And then I like to go fast, and so then, just another couple of degrees on the angle of the sail, and suddenly we're going, beyond the speed that the boat's built for.
Yeah.
So I think I don't know. I don't know if I'm disciplined enough to do it, but I love every minute of it.
It's very expensive.
Yeah.
It's very expensive. And number two, it is you got to dedicate a lot of time to it. It's an all or nothing kind of thing.
Right. And I don't have that kind of time.
Right.
That's my problem. I'm probably more built for like wave runners.
Yeah, right.
Right. To drop them in the water, go, put them back. That's probably what I'm built for. But every time I've ever been on a sailboat, I loved every minute of it. So I've always thought I'd like to sail, but you're right. It takes up time. I don't know that it's much more expensive than golfing, quite honestly.
Well, just owning the boat is what I was saying.
Oh, yeah.
Unless you rent. And then if you
I
rent.
had a guy that gave me a boat, a sailboat. Yeah, but I couldn't keep it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm only saying that because everybody who I know who owns boats says it's incredibly expensive.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You're
Especially motorboats.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then I have a bonus one.
Oh wow, good.
Pickleball.
Pickleball. You want to start playing pickleball?
I think there will be a time once I get introduced to it and once I find the margin.
Yeah, I think you have to be. It's required 55.
Yeah, 55.
You have to be 55 years old
or older. Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, all those pickleball people will beat you up just walking on thing.
Right.
You punk! You young punk! Get off our court!
Too young to play pickleball.
That's right. Yeah.
Even though there's no required age.
I don't know. It's fun. Is it fun?
Well,
I've never done it.
I used to play tennis, not like in a league or anything, but as a kid, often I would play tennis all the time.
Just to send out snobby vibes?
No, believe it or not, it was the opposite of that.
Oh, okay.
We were like super poor, and but there was a public park that was up, and tennis was free because my brother Tommy would have tennis rackets, a bunch of tennis balls, and so we were looking for stuff to do, and we would grab all of his stuff and just go and just mess around, and it turns out that I liked it, and I was decent at it.
Yeah.
So we did that for years and years, and then I would say I like that. It's some exercise. And
were you an infielder in baseball?
I was third base.
Yeah, I found a lot of infielders in baseball wind up being pretty good at tennis.
Huh.
It's that hand-eye coordination and the lateral movements, quick lateral movements.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was third base from the time I started in T-ball.
Oh, yeah.
All the way through high school.
Oh, wow.
I was a relief pitcher for just one season, and then they moved me to center field, and I was center field for the last 2 years.
Wow.
In high school.
That's great.
Yeah. So
okay.
You were
so pickleball.
You were shortstop.
Shortstop my whole life. Yeah. I played all the positions, but I always was usually a starter as a shortstop. Yeah.
And by the way, that's the position.
Well, for lateral movements, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I don't have that anymore.
It's the position for the infield.
A few years ago, we had a church softball team that I was on, and it was when I started realizing I was like 46, I think, the last time I played with the Heritage, and I started feeling like I'm growing roots out of the bottom of my feet.
Right.
Like my brain goes, there goes the ball. You've got it. And then I'd be a foot away from it and go, what happened?
Yeah.
And I go, there goes.
Yeah. Well, because
they moved me over to second base. I got demoted on my own team.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Because I played baseball for years, I told Dave Wilson, a good friend of ours, I said, yeah, I could play baseball. And so I was just hired. I just moved to Michigan, and he brought us all out to a field and played fast pitch hardball baseball.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so he put me in center field because I'm like, yeah, I was center field. He put me in center field, and the first ball that came to me hopped over my head. I was so embarrassed, dude.
Yeah. Dave Wilson's been a guest host on the show.
He has.
Yeah.
He has twice, which is cool.
Well, good. Speaking of being guest hosts and baseball flying over our head, Elijah was fed by ravens that also flew over his head.
Wow.
I got there.
Wow.
I got there.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, so we're introducing a new guy.
Hey, at the last second, too. You got there at the last second.
Yeah, I didn't know where I was going with it.
Right.
So we're introducing a new guy today. That is
a prophet.
Very significant.
He is the first prophet that has come along in a long while, and he's the first in a long line of very important prophets that would come after him.
Yeah.
Very, very important. And you know what? He's not a minor prophet, Jeff. What is he?
He's a major prophet.
He is so major.
Major. Yes, sir. That's right.
Oh, you thought major. That's funny.
Okay. So we are in 1 Kings chapter 17 is where you pick up with Elijah. And it says, now Elijah, who was from Tishba in Gilead, told King Ahab, as surely as the Lord, the God of Israel lives, the God I serve, there will be no dew or rain during the next few years until I give the word. Then the Lord said to Elijah, go to the east and hide by Kerith Brook, near where it enters the Jordan River. Drink from the brook and eat what the ravens bring you, for I have commanded them to bring you food. So Elijah did as the Lord told him and camped beside Kerith Brook, east of Jordan. The ravens brought him bread and meat each morning and evening, and he drank from the brook. But after a while, the brook dried up, for there was no rainfall anywhere in the land. Well, that's the result of him making an announcement it's not going to rain.
Right.
Then the Lord said to Elijah, "Go and live in the village of Zarephath near the city of Sidon. I've instructed a widow there to feed you." So he went to Zarephath, and as he arrived at the gates of the village, he saw a widow gathering sticks, and he asked her, "Would you please bring me a little water in a cup?" As she was going to get it, he called to her, "Bring me a bite of bread, too." Oops. Uh-oh. Did he just ask her for a sandwich? Hey, would you get me a sandwich?
Right.
But she said, "I swear by the Lord your God that I don't have a single piece of bread in the house, and I have only a handful of flour left in a jar and a little cooking oil in the bottom of the jug. I was just gathering a few sticks to cook this last meal, and then my son and I will die." But Elijah said to her, "Don't be afraid. Go ahead and do just what you said, but make a little bread for me first, and then use what's left to prepare a meal for yourself and your son. For this is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. There will always be flour and olive oil left in your containers until the time when the Lord sends rain and the crops grow again." So she said to Elijah, or so she did as Elijah said, and she and Elijah and her family continued to eat for many days. There was always enough flour and olive oil left in the containers, just as the Lord had promised through Elijah. Sometime later, the woman's son became sick. He grew worse and worse, and finally he died. Then she said to Elijah, "O man of God, what have you done to me? Have you come here to point out my sins and kill my son?" But Elijah replied, "Give me your son." And he took the child's body from her arms, carried him up the stairs to the room where he was staying, and laid the boy on his bed. Then Elijah cried out to the Lord, "O Lord my God, why have you brought tragedy to this widow who has opened her home to me, causing her son to die?" And he stretched himself out over the child 3 times and cried out to the Lord, "O Lord my God, please let this child's life return to him." The Lord heard Elijah's prayer, and the life of the child returned, and he revived. Then Elijah brought him down from the upper room and gave him to his mother. "Look," he said, "your son is alive." Then the woman told Elijah, "Now I know for sure that you are a man of God, and that the Lord truly speaks through you." Well, there's just a couple quick little miracles.
There's sort of like 3 things that happen, right?
Bang, bang, bang.
There's a confrontation with King Ahab, which is a pretty big one. Mm-hmm. And then there's...
He stops the rain.
Well, there's really 4 things.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then it's like, hey, go hide out by a brook and get fed by birds. Mm-hmm. And then there's a 3rd thing, which is go to this woman's house, and we're going to do this miracle of flour and oil. And then the 4th thing is, oh, by the way,
going to raise your son from the dead.
Going to raise your son from the dead. Yeah. So really, there's 4 big things here.
Okay, well, we covered it. Have a good day.
We surely did. Did you notice I put on my glasses?
I did see you reading using your glasses. It didn't even dawn on me.
I'm trying reading glasses.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
is it working?
Oh, my word. Are you kidding me?
You can finally see there's actual letters on the page.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Now, again, can I get away without it? Yeah, I'm right on that border, right?
Right.
But yeah, it's pretty great. Mm-hmm. So
well, then maybe you do qualify for pickleball.
Put these on. I know you've probably tried them on before, but look.
Yeah, see, I got to get like here before it makes sense for me.
Okay. Well, then your side is better than mine.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Well, hey. So let's talk about.
That was a little weird.
What?
It was a little weird.
What?
I was sharing glasses for a minute.
What?
I don't know. It was weird.
You never tried on anybody else's glasses?
It felt weird. I don't know.
What?
It felt weird. Yeah.
What, you never tried on anybody else's glasses?
I don't know if I have. Yeah, that was a moment for us.
It's not an intimate thing, Jeff. There's no intimacy there.
Okay.
Anyway. Hey, so let's talk about this. The fact that Elijah confronted Ahab and told him that he has control over rain. Right. Now, why would rain be significant?
Because the note here in the Life Application Study Bible says that Baal was thought to be the god of rain.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't know that, by the way.
You didn't?
I didn't.
Yeah, so which is so cool because for those of us who know the Bible, we know that there's going to be a big challenge, which Elijah is most famous for, where he calls down fire from the sky and he wets the offering and everything else. Oh, come on.
You're ruining it for the listener.
That's true. Okay. But
Anyways.
It's going to be epic.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Hey,
forget what he said.
It's like seeing the previews of a movie where you've seen all the good parts.
Yeah.
But you tune in anyway?
Yep.
Okay.
Crocodile Dundee.
Right. Yeah.
Anyways.
So anyway, the point is that Baal is the god of rain. And so Elijah decides to walk into Ahab, who is worshiping this false god of Baal under the influence of Jezebel,
right.
his king. And Elijah, by the way, Ahab, by the way, don't forget, is the most wicked king of the northern kingdoms.
That's right.
that there is.
He was more wicked than all of the other kings.
Yes.
And I read that almost to be saying than all of them combined.
Yes.
That's what it sure seems like. But
yes.
Yeah.
And so Elijah walks in and says, "Hey, you want to know who has control over the rain? It's the Lord God."
Right.
And so I'm going to...
Whom I serve.
Whom I serve.
Right.
And my prediction is it's not going to rain until I say so.
Right.
And it turns out that it's years. And what he's really doing is he's setting up this big confrontation.
Right. That's right.
Which in years in advance.
So then, there's a tremendous amount of danger in confronting a king, especially an evil king.
Yes.
But any king. David was a good king, and when he got bad news, he'd kill the messenger.
Yes, all the time.
Right?
Like multiple times, like 6 times.
Right. So Ahab's a bad king.
Yeah.
And he confronts him, and I can't hardly fathom how scary that would be.
Ugh.
Right? How nervous you would be in that. And then now you can't go back home. It tells us where he's from. He's from Tishbe in Gilead. Well, apparently everybody knew he's from Tishbe in Gilead.
Okay.
Right? And so it's not like it's a secret, so he can't go home now.
Right.
And so I can imagine an argument he must have been having with God of, well, if I go, he's going to kill me. All right, no, I'm going to take care of you. So, well, what are you going to do to take care of me? Just go talk to him. So he goes and confronts him, and God goes, okay, I got a plan. You're going to camp out by this little brook that flows into the Jordan River. Okay, well, can I go back to my job? Right? How am I going to pay my bills? Oh, you're not going to have any bills. I'll just take care of you. How are you going to do that? I'm going to send birds. Birds are going to feed you. Right?
Yeah.
What in the world? What have I gotten myself into? Right?
Yeah.
It's such a bizarre thing.
Yeah. So there's a couple sermons in there. Number one is the idea that God told Elijah to confront Ahab years in advance for this big confrontation that we know is coming, right? So in other words, Elijah may not have known at this point that a big confrontation was coming, right?
Right.
He might not even have known. Easy for me to say. He might not have even known that there was, one thing was connected to the other. God just said, "Go do this," and he did.
Right.
And so it's interesting because the sermon is that God knows in advance. All these different things. And he wants us to take a step of obedience, and God already has a plan. And so we may not know the next step of the plan. We just know step 1. Right. Step 1's the command.
Yeah.
And so
go confront Ahab.
Right. That's it.
Ooh,
right.
This might not work out well.
Right. But he does.
Right.
And so God, little does he know, like, who would have ever thought, hey, I bet you that God's going to send me birds? Like, who would ever predict that?
Right.
Nobody's going to predict that.
Right.
And it's sort of the same thing that God asks us to do. God asks us to take one step of faith, and sometimes we don't know why. God sometimes would say, here's a crazy, act of faith, do this or do that. Has God ever asked you, go approach this person, go pray for this person, hey, give this person a phone call? And those are little things, but you don't realize that God's asking you to do something, and you do it. And then later on you find out, oh, that's what God was up to.
Right. Oh, right? Yeah. So many
times. Because it connects the things that God knows in advance.
Yep. The note here for 1 Kings 17:10 says, in a nation that was required by law to care for its prophets, it's ironic that God turned to ravens, which are unclean birds.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, right? They didn't touch pigs. They didn't touch nothing that was unclean. Nothing.
Right.
They didn't touch nothing that's bad.
Didn't touch nothing.
Poor English.
All's y'all.
It's good country boy, though.
Ain't touching no ravens.
Yeah, that's right. But they didn't touch anything that was unclean. Mm-hmm. But God used ravens, which were unclean, to bring food. And then he also used a widow who was a foreigner from Jezebel's home territory.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Right? That's pretty crazy. And then it says he used both the unclean bird and the foreigner from Jezebel's home territory to care for Elijah. God has help where we least expect it. He provides for us in ways that go beyond our narrow definitions or expectations. No matter how bitter our trials or how seemingly hopeless our situation, we should look to God for God's caring touch. We may find his providence in some strange places. And that's what happened there for him. It's a really interesting circumstance. I had a friend who had a really bad circumstance in life. He felt like he needed to do what was the right thing, but it cost him so much. And then God provided. I can't get into all the details, but God provided in a really unique way. And one of the things, he had lost a car over it. So he got a new car, and it was black, and he called it the Raven. And it was, God provided. And then that opened up all the doors. He had lost his job. He'd lost so many things. But then God gave him the raven, and then he was able to get the job back. He was able to get all these other things, right?
Wow.
And he did the right thing. It cost him everything, and then God gave it all back. And it was pretty and better. And so he called his car the Raven for quite some time.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's a neat story.
So Jezebel's hometown was actually on the coast, and it was north of the Sea of Galilee, and it was also west. So it was right on the coast, northwest, and I'm not sure what that would be. Modern day Lebanon, maybe.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Right there. Is there a map in here?
Yeah, it's somewhere in there.
Oh yeah, right here.
Yeah, right up here is where it is.
Yeah. So you're still just at Israel.
Okay.
Yeah, Zarephath is just below Sidon. Yeah, you're starting to get up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you're in Lebanon.
Okay, and then where he told him to go hide out is just below the Sea of Galilee, on the east side, which is where the Sea of Galilee connects to the Jordan River. So this brook where he's hiding out is it's just there. And so Elijah hides out there, and then God commands the ravens. And the other sermon in there is that God has control over, the birds, over nature, over everything. And look at our time. So we haven't even gotten to the oil in the flour.
Oh, man, yeah.
So here she is.
It's all the same basic thing. God provides in such unique ways.
Yeah. Because, hey, trust God. This is what God says.
That's right.
I believe you're a prophet. I believe you're from God. Hey, I'm on my last meal anyway. What do I have to lose?
Yeah.
Right? I'm gonna go ahead and do. If there's a chance that your God is real and that this prophecy is real, then yeah, sure, I'll make you bread first. And then God blesses this woman's faithfulness, her obedience, her trust, by continuing to miraculously have her flour and oil never run out. And by the way, it didn't rain for years. Did you know that? It didn't rain for like 2 years.
Right, 3.
3 years. Mm-hmm. So here's this woman who miraculously wakes up every day. She has a little bit of oil. She pours it out. And then I'm not sure if it just replenished, like the drink in Thor's hand.
Right, just never empties.
Yeah, never empties with Doctor Strange. Yeah. Or is it that she pours and then the level just stays the same? Who knows?
Right.
Or maybe she goes to bed.
Yeah.
And she wakes up and there's just more.
Right. So he did this through the power of God, right? Which is and the Bible would talk often about the prophets, how the Spirit of God would come upon them. And it's interesting to me, Elijah did almost all the same kind of miracles Jesus did. Right? He raised a boy from the dead. Mm-hmm. He was able to keep food going for a long.
Yeah, multiple.
Jesus did it twice.
Right.
In specific instances. Elijah did it for months and months and months.
Yes.
Right? The same miracle consistently, nonstop. But it's always funny to me. He's such a gruff character in my mind. Mm-hmm. Like I think of his manners. Hey, could I get a drink? Yeah, sure, I'll get you a drink. Hey, while you're there, could you get me a sandwich? Right? And then on this one, he's like, you know what? Make me some cakes. Why don't you just make me some bread? And she says, well, we were getting ready. We don't have hardly any flour or oil, but, and he goes, okay, God says you're not going to run out. That's a wonderful miracle. So could you make mine first? That's what he says.
Yes.
He has such bad manners through this whole thing, but it's really funny.
But I always read it like that's where the act of faith comes in, because after all, God told Elijah, I've instructed a widow to feed you. Right. So I think Elijah's going off of the word of God, saying like, oh, I see what's happening. So he stumbles upon this widow, and who would have ever thought that she was so desperate? And think about this: how desperate do you have to be to say, like, we were literally looking at each other, realizing we're going to make our last meal and die. There's no water. There's a famine. We have no food. I'm assuming they're skinny. I'm assuming they haven't eaten in a very long time. I'm assuming they're malnourished. All these different things. They're probably sick, and so the desperation is through the roof. And Elijah says, "Here's the act of faith. Make me my bread first," and because that's what God says.
Right.
And so do what God says, and God will bless you. And so it's an amazing thing. And by the way, that we're about to, in our series calendar at our church, we're going to teach a financial series off of this principle. It's this story, which is really cool. And then we have just a minute to talk about how Elijah, it almost seems like a by the way, doesn't it? Like, oh, and then by the way, the son gets sick and died.
And he raised this kid to life.
And then he raised his kid to life.
Yeah.
So it's, it's like, did just natural things happen? And then God just honored Elijah for being there. Did this happen so that Elijah could perform this miracle? It's hard to know, right?
Right.
But it's just an unbelievable thing. So God is continuing to use Elijah for great things. Maybe what God is doing is God is allowing Elijah's confidence to be built up in such a way for this confrontation.
Right.
Because this confrontation that he's about to do, he does it with such confidence. Like knowing that God, hey, listen, whatever's going to happen, I know that God's going to show up in a dramatic way because God's done it in the past.
Yeah, you're tipping our hand for tomorrow.
Well, again, hey,
it's a big story.
It's you may know the
you don't want to miss it. It's what we're saying.
You may know the preview, but show up for the movie.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
All right. Well, hey, that is our time. So hopefully we will see you next time on the Bible Guys.